Hello, hello. Welcome back to Not Another Mindset Show. This is such a recurring topic. I was going to say it's the most popular topic. It's really not that it's popular. It's just something that coaches experience a lot. Like when I tell you this is literally probably the most recurring discussion with any of my students inside the health mindset coaching certification, with any of my one-on-one mentorship clients. And actually, the reason why I decided to do this as an episode was because yesterday, once a month, I have a group call with my small group mentorship clients. It's sort of like the mastermind equivalent type of offer that I have in my business, but I don't really like to call it a mastermind because it is always like a small group of 5 to 8 intermediate business owners in the health and fitness space. So I am helping them with business. And once a month, we all come together and kind of do a roundtable discussion and talk about what's working, what's not working, what we need support on. These calls are just so good. And I always leave with more ideas, especially for the podcast, because of course I'm talking to coaches and we're getting in depth into the things that they are struggling with and the things that are going well and what have you. And one of the conversations we were having was with one of my mentees, and she was frustrated because she often has, not super often, but every once in a while, once a month maybe, there's someone who applies and is clearly a very good fit to work with her. And then she goes and follows up with them and never hears from them again. And she's like, well, what the heck is this? Because clearly they want to work with me to some degree. Otherwise, they wouldn't have applied in the first place, right? And so we started to talk about that more and then kind of just got on the topic of ghosting in general, from a coach and client perspective, which obviously ghosting can happen in other areas of your life as well. I have been ghosted in other areas of my life, I can tell you that. But so we just got on the topic of what this looks like, whether it is a prospective client like that example that I just shared, or it's your current clients that aren't checking in, they're not following up with questions that you ask them, and that sort of thing. And that's where I came to this idea of this needs to be a podcast episode, because I am constantly talking about this topic with my people, and I want to bring it to even more people, aka you, my friend, that are listening right now. So the first thing that the first place that I go when it comes to what is going on with this person in whatever capacity, whether that is ghosting or some other behavior that you just can't make sense of, my first place is what is going on with that person psychologically. And to no surprise, right? I didn't spend 4.5 years researching mindset and behavior change to not have changed my way of thinking, so that the first thing that I think of when I'm what's going on with this person is well, what is going on with their mindset? What is going on with them psychologically, right? So for both current clients and those who show interest in working with you, but then don't follow through, we're going to kind of go through both of them. So starting with prospective clients, since that's kind of the first step, right? You have prospective clients and then you have those prospective clients turning into actual clients. So someone applied. They're obviously interested in working with you, but something is holding them back. And I think it can kind of be, granted, there are so many reasons, right? So many reasons why this might be happening. I think the first place that coaches tend to go to is that they're just not committed enough. They're just not motivated enough. Well, I don't want to work with them anyway, right? Gosh, I know I talk about, because I'm single and dating, I talk about the parallels a lot, but I just can't help but see the parallels so often with this. If someone is just not responding to you anymore and it's someone that you're interested in, it's well, I'm too good for them anyway. That kind of attitude, which, could actually probably serve you pretty well in a dating sense. But when it comes to coaching and when you are the health and fitness professional helping these people, it's not super helpful to just be in the perspective of well, that's on them and there's nothing that I can do about it. And there's nothing more to learn here except for the fact that this person just they're not good enough for me. So instead, I would implore you to think a little bit more about what might be going on with those people, because that should also inform your follow-up process. And I am definitely a big proponent of following up with people. I mean, how many times have you been in a situation where you were interested in a service or a product or anything, and you look into it, maybe you start getting some emails, they send you a coupon code, and you're like, I just don't know if I'm needing this, ready for this, it's the right thing for me, it's the right time, I want to invest in this, whatever, right now. But then they follow up again in like a month, and they're like, hey, we know that you were interested, and this is like your exact problem, and we want to help you solve it, and here's an additional $100 off. You're probably like, all right, fuck it, let's go, right? That's actually happened to me. So random, but for couch cleaning of all things, I have a really amazing, nice white couch, and she looks beautiful sitting in my living room, but just like as time goes on, people sitting on it, not realizing, like, you don't realize how dirty people really are. Like, just like clothing and stuff, or even like I'm wearing like my socks are picking up stuff from around the house, and I'm sitting on the couch, and now there's this like slightly darker tinged part of the couch where I always sit on. Anyway, I reached out to this couch cleaning company, and they were like, yep, it's gonna be like $500 to come over and like clean it. And I was like, I don't want to spend that, but at the same time, like, if I have to do this a couple times a year, is it worth it to have this beautiful white couch, whatever? But I just kind of like left them on red. And I think this is what prospective clients often do with you, right? I reached out, I wanted a quote, just like clients will reach out and apply. And then I learned the price and was like, now I'm kind of weighing the information that was given to me, and I did nothing about it. I didn't follow up. And then they followed up with me a couple weeks later. And we're like, hey, we're running a promotion for sectionals, and I think your couch would fall underneath this promotional offer. And so I was like, I reached out back then and said, oh, can you tell me a little bit more about this, and like when you might be able to come and all this stuff. And then they sent me more information, and I still didn't pull the trigger because I was like, dude, still do I want to be spending that much money when I could probably like do some spot cleaning, be okay with it. And then they reached out again, and they were like, hey, the deadline for the promotion is whatever. We can get out there as soon as like next week. Like, you can continue to like go about your day, and we'll just come clean the couch. And I was like, okay, you're making this as convenient as possible for me. You're giving me more information. You're helping me paint the picture as to how this is actually going to work in my life. I'm sold. So I did it, and it was great, and I will do it again. I will do it again. So all this to say, couch cleaning aside, there is usually like a pretty clear situation going on. It's just figuring out what that situation is can be really difficult, because also a lot of times that person doesn't even know what's holding them back either. But typically it's that this person is not following back up with you after they applied because they're not 100% sure that you can actually help them. Or they're not 100% sure that even if you can help them, that they have the ability, the competency to like actually follow through. And in either way, they're probably pretty worried about just like losing money, losing time, losing effort, because they're going to lock themselves into this situation and give away the time and effort and money. And then it's not going to work for them again, because either you're not a good fit for them, or it doesn't matter because they just don't know if they can trust themselves to follow through with everything. So ultimately, it comes back to one of those two things. But regardless, what we're looking at here is that those people just need more information to make a decision. Because what's happening here, right, is that someone's applying to work with you, rather. I mean, it could be maybe working for you too. That's also possible. They are applying, they are interested. And then when it comes time to like actually make some more decisions, take it to the next step, they're like, get cold feet and run the other direction. So what they're really looking for here is more information to decide whether or not they want to work with you or they don't. Because if they for sure were like, nope, I have all the information I needed and I don't think this is going to be a good fit, they would probably tell you. But instead, they're just ignoring you, right? Like me and the couch people. So you have to remember too that people do things for essentially one of two reasons: to solve a problem or eliminate discomfort. So in these cases, someone is applying to work with you because they want to try to solve the problem of them not being able to lose weight, they want to feel better, they want more energy, they're having gut health issues, whatever your expertise is in health and fitness coaching land, or maybe you're in a different area, just like insert that area into the equation. And to solve that problem, they've applied, right? However, now they're in this place of discomfort of like, I don't know if this is going to work for me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to follow through. I don't know if this person is actually the best fit after all. And so that's uncomfortable. So to eliminate that discomfort, they just don't respond. So if you can always just kind of like bring yourself back to what is going on with the person, it's going to inform your ability to follow up with them. So ultimately, they are just like needing more information to make a decision either way. And that's typically how I always approach sales conversations. I guess if that's just how we're going to, the overarching term that we can use here is, I'm here to help you make a confident decision. I just want you to confidently say yes or no. That's it. And people are usually waffling and unsure on their decision because they don't have enough information. So it's just a matter of getting more information to those people. So what I would have you think about here is, what does your follow-up process look like for those people who apply? Maybe you do hear from them and then you stop hearing from them, or they have a call with you and then they ghost you after that. Like, what does your follow-up process look like? Like, little nudges can certainly work sometimes, like I've had that even like with, some of my favorite like clothing brands. They send emails and show me like what are the new products or new items that are coming out this season or what have you. And I'll click on the email, look at things. I'm like, oh, that one's kind of cute. That one's kind of cute. But like, I don't need any more clothes right now. And then I'll just like close it out. But then I'll get another one the next week that's like, we saw that you were looking, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, maybe I do really want that dress because I do have that event coming up. And then I buy it. Right. And so all I needed was just like another little nudge. If they didn't send that second email, I would not have purchased. And the same thing can happen with coaching for sure. And you've probably experienced this where it's like just one more little nudge of like, hey, just looking to hear from you. I know we had a good conversation, or I know you applied and you're looking to do XYZ and I know I can help you, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes that can work. But when we're dealing with people who are sitting here thinking like, maybe you're not the right fit for me, maybe I'm not capable of actually doing this, and they're kind of in that place of like psychological ambivalence, if you will, just sending those nudges over and over again and like sending just like a, hey, just wanted to check in, like one of those is probably not going to help. And then you're over here like, well, I followed up multiple times. I guess they really don't want to be here. But if you're just following up saying like, I'm just checking in with you, Sarah, like that's, I don't think that's actually doing much. So what I was talking to my mentorship group about and like how you could kind of experiment with this is, number one, just like get more personal with it, right? Like, people want to feel like you're not just sending them like a canned email that you send to everybody. So use their name, use what they talk to you about in their application or their call with you. Or if you had some kind of conversation before, like get really detailed with how you're reaching out to them, because that shows that you freaking care, right? And you're not just sending them a templated email that you send to everybody, and that you're not just like dollar signs in your eyes. Like, they are real humans and they are as they should be treated. So I really like sending like little videos and walking them through essentially future pacing and explaining not just like how your coaching process works, like here is this spreadsheet and then you get access to these resources and then we have this community space, but actually like walking them through that process and inserting them into the process. So this is how we would have your check-in form set up, because you said that you were really struggling with some of like your self-limiting beliefs and self-sabotaging behaviors. I'm going to make sure that there are specific questions in that check-in form so that we can have discussions every week to monitor your progress on not just things like weight loss and strength training, but like also the mindset component of it. So really like bringing in them as the example so they can really put themselves into that process. And it's not just a process, it's their process, right? And something else you can do inside that video, I would also make sure not to make this like a 30-minute long video, because then nobody's going to watch that, especially if they're uncertain. To either in the body of the email, or if you're doing this video, you could put it in the email, is to have some of these psychological discussions that I was just talking to you who are listening to this podcast, you guys, about in the first like half of this discussion, and explain that, hey, I know you applied. I know we had a conversation already. It's obvious that you're interested in looking for support, resources, that your goals are really important to you. And I'm very certain that we're a good fit after our conversation, after your application, whatever. However, it makes sense to me that you might still be on the fence. You might be unsure because you don't maybe have all the information you need to make a decision. And that's typically how humans work. Like, we can't say yes or no to something unless we feel like we have all the information to confidently say yes or no. And this is where you could go in and insert, like, maybe you've had conversations with past clients or even current clients about what kept them on the fence until they decided to say, yes, I want to work with you, right? So you can say, most often when I am talking to new clients, their concerns are around like how much time this is going to take them, their actual like abilities to stay committed to the plan, or that our methods just won't align properly. Can you tell me, because I don't want to make assumptions, can you tell me if any of those resonate with you, if any of those things are what's holding you back from making a confident decision, yes or no? Either way, no matter what, I want to hear from you. Please hit reply. It would mean the world to just get a response from you regardless, and see how a follow-up like that works, rather than just like, hey, just checking in after our call. Can't wait to work with you, maybe, potentially. I think the more personalized you can make it, and also maybe in sort of like the softest way possible, kind of calling out some of these psychological objections. Because again, like, people sometimes just aren't even aware of what's holding them back in the first place. So if you can help them recognize that, and they read through that list and they're like, yeah, I'm kind of like feeling all three of those, they're going to feel really heard and seen, and that you actually, again, care, that they're not just like, this is another $2,000 package, can't wait to get this person on my roster and make some more money. That you're like, I see you. Or at least I'm trying to, based on the information that I have. Can you let me know if I'm on the right track? And I mean, that should just be the way that you're coaching in general. But I talk a lot about coaching practices on this podcast, but so much of what I talk about can be translated quite easily into sales, marketing type of processes as well. Okay, so moving on, a lot of what I said, again, like just like the general themes and how I'm describing things can be used inside your actual coaching practices too with like current clients, but it's a little bit different once you've had like an established relationship with someone and now they're ghosting their check-ins, or they're just like not responding to like certain things. They're like omitting the answer to some questions but not others, like that whole thing. The biggest thing is expectation setting. And doing that at the beginning of the coaching relationship, which I know you might be like, cool, Kasey, I've been working with this person for 6 months. I can't really go back in time and expectation set. However, you kind of can. You kind of can. But I do really think that the more you can do it at the beginning, at the get-go, when people are excited, they are responsive, they're hopeful, they're ready. Like, they're really thinking like, this is the thing that's going to work for me finally. That's when you need to be doing a lot of that. In my coaching business, like historically, we had a expectation setting agreement. I was trying to think of like, what did we actually call it? But I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. It took up like half of a page in the intake form that we had for new clients when we're onboarding them. And there's literally like multiple lines saying almost the same thing, but in different ways, along the lines of, things are going to get hard. Shit's going to hit the fan. Life's not going to go the way that you want it to. And not every week is going to be perfect. Can I still count on you to check in with me, reach out to me, and let me know how things are going on those difficult weeks? Yes or no? And they obviously have to circle yes. And then we had them also take their initials next to each one of those lines in agreement, hence expectation agreement. So we had like multiple lines of that to set those expectations at the forefront, and then also would have like an expectation conversation with that person on the phone, on Zoom, whatever, about how things aren't always going to go perfectly to plan, but those are the most important moments for us to be in contact with them. So like that was set, and told over and over again, and that conversation was had and everyone was on the same page at the very beginning. And I think that makes a huge, huge freaking difference. Because then what's great too is like once you're in the relationship with the client and they maybe are kind of pulling back on check-ins, not sharing as much when things are really busy and they know things aren't going as well for them, whatever, you can bring them back to that expectation agreement. And not like in a mean way, like please be nice people, but you can bring them back to that and say, hey, remember at the very beginning when I had you fill out this expectation agreement, we had a conversation about when things were going to get hard and how I still like really needed to hear from you during those times, potentially need to hear from you more during those times than when things are going well. Yeah, this is one of those times. So I need to hear from you and kind of just bring up their commitment to you and to themselves and to the coaching relationship. And humans in general like to stay consistent. So if they gave you their word that they would do that, and then you bring that up to them, they may be like, ah, shit, she got me, right? Like, I do need to stay consistent and committed to what I said previously. Okay, I got to take a quick pause here to talk to you about something very important. Your coaching forms, like your application form, check-in forms, intake forms. You, my friend, are probably missing out on a huge opportunity here because most coaches see these forms as nothing but information gatherers. And I'm here to tell you, they should be doing so much more for you. Your coaching forms should be helping your clients shift their mindset and make behavior changes that actually last. And your forms really do have the power to do that. And I want to show you exactly how inside my recently updated and upgraded DIY workshop mini series, Transform Your Forms. This DIY program is a short series of video trainings from me where you'll learn exactly how to use the science of mindset and behavior change in your coaching forms. So yes, we're talking application form, intake forms, check-in forms, and we'll even dive into your sales calls and exit surveys. This is the easiest, fastest, and most affordable way to start including science-backed strategies into your coaching practices. So it's no wonder Transform Your Forms is actually my most popular DIY program. And now with these new updates, it's even better than ever. Over 700 coaches have already picked up this workshop series. Check out the link in the show notes to learn more. So with that said, we also have to remember those two things again, right? That people are always trying to either A, solve a problem, or B, eliminate pain. So again, instead of just like brushing off these clients and assuming that they just don't want it enough or they don't care. Well, if they're not going to check in with me, then I can't do my job. So like, see you later, like nothing I can do here. Instead of thinking that way, which so many coaches do, unfortunately, think about what's going on in this person's life. What data do you have that you can kind of maybe try to paint a picture of what might be keeping them from reaching out to you? The whole, are they trying to solve a problem or eliminate discomfort here? Because it's probably pretty obvious a lot of the time, honestly. And if a client is not doing super well, they're like not sticking to the plan, being super adherent, they feel that, right? And they probably don't feel very good about it. So that's uncomfortable. Humans want to eliminate discomfort. So one way to attempt to do that may not be the best way, but it is one way to attempt to do that is to just ignore it and not respond to you, right? So I don't have to face the fact that I'm not doing well and I'm not sticking to the plan. I just can pretend it's not there. So if you can at least try to be in that position, we don't want to make assumptions, right? We don't know exactly what our clients are going through, but the more you can operate from this place of something uncomfortable must be going on for them to not be wanting to talk to me, not following up with me, not responding to this stuff. And operating from that place is such a better place than, well, they just clearly don't want to be here, so I don't want them here either. Like, ugh, gross. I hate that kind of like perspective. Like, the coaching industry. Anyway. Okay. So some options for you. There's so many options, guys. There's so many things you can do to help clients that are in this position. And I know it can feel like your hands are tied, especially if like you're a remote online coach and they're not responding to you. It's like, literally, what am I supposed to do? And I will say, listen, I'm not putting all the responsibility on you. At some point, if you have tried a lot of the things that we're talking about here and they're still not responding to you, There is maybe only so much you can do in that capacity. However, I say that with the biggest grain of salt because I don't want you to take it and run with it, because that is such a fixed mindset way of looking at things, right? Like, my hands are tied. I can't do anything about this. There are always going to be situations where you aren't able to help someone. However, the majority of coaches are not doing 97% of the things that you could be doing to help that person. So where I would like to see you get to is if you have 50%, well, I hope you don't, maybe like 30 to 40% of your roster is like ghosting or not completing check-ins consistently, that you can actually get to a place, and you can get to a place where it's more along the lines of 80 to 90% of your clients are successfully checking in consistently, following up, even on hard weeks, etc. If you are using some of these tools when it comes to mindset, behavior change, and psychology, a lot of which we teach inside the Health Mindset Coaching certification. This is why that certification, that my bread and butter program, exists, guys. This is why. Because I know so many coaches do not have these tools in their toolbox, and they would be so much better off in enjoying their time as coaches so much more if they had them. Okay, anyway, so some options. I really have had a lot of success with my clients in the past of just reaching out, typically like via text message if you can, if you have their phone number versus email, because honestly, emails feel a little bit easier to ghost. Text messages feel a little bit more personal and intimate, right? So just a quick text like, hey, I know I've touched base with you over email a handful of times. I haven't heard back from you. No big deal, no worries. But I'm still here to support you and I want to see you succeed. Do you have time for a 10-minute call? I'd have some ideas for you. And just leave it at that. And see if maybe just a quick call feels a little bit more digestible to them. They feel like they're being supported by you, not getting called out by you. Not like, where have you been? That sort of thing. Because so often, guys, you have to remember that the reason these clients are not following up, they're ghosting you, whatever, is because they don't want to disappoint you. They know they're not doing well, so they're like, I don't want to waste this chick's time. And meanwhile, you're like, please talk to me, right? So the more you can come from that nurturing and understanding place, the better. And also just, hey, no big deal that you haven't responded to me, but I have some ideas for you. Do you have like 10 minutes to get on a quick call? And obviously those ideas could be likely more or less starting with questions of, can you tell me a little bit more where you're at, what's feeling good, what's not, so we can kind of get on the same page, and then you can start talking about said ideas. Another thing I have here is letting them know that you don't want to make assumptions, right? That when you're reaching out to them, when you're following up with them, you're trying to get them to check in with you after they've been ghosting you. I don't want to make assumptions. What I do know is that you want to achieve XYZ specific thing, goal, whatever, that they're trying to pursue with you. Like, get specific with them. And it's my literal job to help you see that happen. So let's figure it out together. So again, kind of coming from this place of, we're a team. My job is to continue to bug you and reach out to you and try to figure out a way to make this work. So let's do it. Like, if you're still in, I'm still in. So sometimes they just need to be reminded of that, and that can be helpful. Again, this is in contrast to the typical outreach when clients are ghosting, where you're just like, hey, haven't heard from you. Just wanted to check in. Didn't get a check-in from you this week. Can you fill me in what's going on? Like, that's not going to do a lot. I mean, you can certainly try it, and sometimes it will work. And if it's not working, then maybe try the things that I'm talking about here. So on sort of like a similar playing field of the ghosting situation, they may not be like ghosting you entirely, but maybe they're just like not following up on certain questions. I hear this a lot from my students because I'm teaching them how to ask like very powerful mindset shifting type of questions. And then they come back and they're like, Kasey, these questions are awesome, but I can't get responses from my clients. They just keep skipping over them or not responding or whatever. So how am I supposed to, quote unquote, mindset coach them if they're not even responding to me, which is fair, right? And especially if you've noticed that this is a pattern or that there's something going on with this person, like they are struggling to stick with the plan and stay motivated. So you're asking some deeper questions to try to help them figure out why and help them get to the other side of it, but they're not answering those questions. So what do you do? What do you do in those situations? And something that I recommend, but I would not recommend doing all of the time because your people are definitely going to catch on to it, is to essentially withhold. That sounds more serious than it actually is, but withhold the information that they're looking for. Like if you are tracking macros or you're writing them a training program, to say, I have updates to your macros. I have your new training block, but I'm not going to send it to you quite yet because there's a few questions from last week that I never heard back from you on that I think are very important. And here's why. Here's why. That part. It is so important to always showcase the value behind why you're asking certain questions, why you're doing certain things. If your clients don't understand the value of something, if they don't see the importance behind it, the utility of it, why the heck would they put any effort or care or interest in it? That's just human nature, my friends. If you want me to do something and I'm not really sure I want to do it and you've given me no reason to do it, why the heck would I do it? Right? So the more you can give them some reasoning, and I usually, when I'm speaking to my students, I can say, hey, this is something that actually came from my health mindset coaching certification, or I'm health mindset certified, and this is part of my coaching practice to make sure that you are not only excelling from the place of like physique and physical health, but also mental health and your mindset. And that's what's really going to propel you forward and help you see long-term success. And this not just be sort of a quick fix, whatever, however you want to phrase it, right? So anyway, doing that, showcasing the value, and also potentially withholding the information related to exercise and nutrition until they answer it, sort of like your answer to the question is the key to the rest of your check-in information, can be pretty powerful. But again, you can't do it all the time. Otherwise, they're going to be like, dude, just give me my stuff. Stop doing this to me, right? But I do think for the clients where you're seeing that, especially as like it's a pattern and they continue to just skip over questions, or, like if I should just get them to like have this conversation with me, it would make such a big difference. That could be a strategy to try. Okay, my friends, there are so many different ways to help your clients. And whether it's ghosting or self-sabotage or all or nothing thinking or self-limiting beliefs, or they're just getting in their way from seeing more success and you see the potential in them, there are so many ways to help them. And to remember too that all of your clients are unique individuals with unique histories and situations and circumstances. So the strategies that you're using will also depend on your relationship with that person and their past and their current and their future and everything in between. So with that said, I do have 5 free lessons for you in mindset and behavior change coaching that you can use with your clients right away. It is also the wait list for the health mindset coaching certification. It's not locking you into anything, but you will get updates the next time HMCC does open for enrollment if you go ahead and download those 5 free lessons. They are dripped out over an email series sequence. So I'm going to make sure that that link is in the show notes for you guys if you want to get started with a little bit more as far as like evidence-based strategies goes to help your clients from a mindset and behavior change perspective. Those are all yours. And they're free 99. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Like I said, this is something that comes up all the freaking time. And if there's anything else like ghosting that you feel like you deal with a lot inside your coaching practices, or you just hear about a lot, talk to your coaching friends about, please let me know, because these are kind of my favorite episodes. In fact, I had like 6 different episodes started to like halfway scripted out. And then I had this conversation with my mentorship clients yesterday. It was like, no, I want to talk about that on the podcast tomorrow. So I literally moved it up in front of everything because it actually came from my people. So you are my people. Okay. Tell me what you want to learn. Tell me how I can help you. And I'm going to move that to the front of the line as far as podcast episodes go. All right. I'm going to stop chatting. I'm just like talking in circles at this point. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you next time.